Welcome, Leroy, to another edition of From the Pressbox.
I tell you what, man, it has been a week, and then this evening, I had everything all ready to go, and the program that we used to do our podcasts on would not let me do video. It said that I could not do video; that a different app was running, which there's nothing else running on my computer. So I restarted my computer, and now it's saying updates. So I am talking to you from my wonderful beat up cell phone in the hopes that maybe some kind of technology that I have will absolutely work today. But so far, I haven't
Nothing
had that.
stops you from making sure that we have a great podcast for everyone. This is the Jordan podcast, Leroy. This is podcast 23 for us.
Oh my goodness!
Not that anybody's been counting.
Yeah, the only issue is that, oh wait, maybe I do that. Oh, that's awful. So yeah, I can't really look at comments.
Well, that's fine. If I see something, Daniel's already putting comments. See, and that's the best part is I get to control this, and I don't have to put comments on the screen. So, Daniel, your comment's not getting put on the screen. I'll put this one up, and you can probably, Leroy, just reading. Can you read this comment that has been put on the screen right now? So
Did he already diss the Bengals? Did he already?
Yeah, of course he did. Of course he did. We're not even 2 minutes in, and you know what? And we were today. We'll do our little preview of what we're going to talk about. We'll have our picks, which we have to recap our picks contest from last week.
Yep.
We'll have our picks at the end of the show. Leroy's logos, maybe drivers. If Leroy's technology wants to work, we'll have drivers. That'll all depend on technology. Yep. We will have our play clock segment, and we're going to be jumping into the MLB playoffs. And then also we are going to be talking about the atrocity that is our NFL football teams. But first, our recap of the pick contest from last week. Not a great week for either one of us, Leroy.
No, and I was watching some of the games, and I was like, I would like to say, I know it means absolutely nothing, but Northwestern was tied with Penn State at halftime. Again, I know it means absolutely nothing, but I was pretty impressed with their effort against the team that was number 6 overall in America. So I thought that was pretty. Again, I'm not talking about final score. We're not worried about that. But at halftime,
in the pick contest, the final score is the only thing that matters. Last week, I was the winner slightly, 6-5. Was the final score of last week's pick contest. So that brings me now to the leader overall by a score of 35-26. The score recap, Leroy, you picked up a point. Grayson County defeat North Bullitt. They destroyed the Eagles of North Bullitt. I went against my gut and picked Taylorville against Effingham, and Leroy, that was the wrong decision, was it not?
It was absolutely the wrong decision, as Effingham, again, another game where it was tied. It wasn't tied at halftime. Effingham had a 21-12 lead at halftime, and the final score was Effingham 55, Taylorville 12. So Taylorville didn't score a single point the entire second half. It culminated on an interception on a pitch. That's right. Nice. A quarterback went to pitch the ball. It was intercepted and ran in for a pick 6, and that was kind of the big moment of that game. So
the other points, I went +1 predicting Kentucky to beat Florida. We both predicted Penn State and WKU. We both were very wrong in predicting the Bengals to win. We both were technically wrong in Leroy, you picked the Bears. I picked a tie, which for a moment looked like it was going to happen.
I was at NHRA this weekend, and I was looking at the score on my phone, and I'm like, I swear, if this team flipping ties, man, I was getting heated, man.
Central Michigan defeated Eastern Michigan, so I got a point there. Leroy, though, you got the point in Ole Miss against LSU. And I got the point, though, with the Bucs defeating the Saints. And we both predicted Notre Dame to defeat Duke. So we will have our points or our picks of the week later on in the broadcast. And Leroy, before that, I've got good news and bad news for you for the pick contest this week.
You know, that really quick, though, that Notre Dame Duke game was way closer than what I think a lot of people predicted it was going to be. Duke almost Duke almost gave them an upset. It's pretty good football.
Yeah, Paul Reeves, Florida did get smashed by Kentucky. It was a blowout. It was never close. Kentucky dominated from the opening kick. But the good news and the bad news, do you want the good news or the bad news first, Leroy?
I'll take the bad news first.
The bad news is that I get an opportunity to get 10 points this week. You only get the opportunity to get 9 points this week.
Okay.
Because Grayson County is off. The good news is that I'm off this week. So I don't get to broadcast this week. So I get a nice relaxing week.
Friday off?
Huh?
You get a Friday night off?
Yeah. So that's good news. I never said it was good.
What are you going to do with all your free time?
Maybe I'll watch Taylorville against Mattoon. I don't know. Maybe I will. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. Daniel, your comments do work.
It's Mattoon.
Mattoon. I don't know how to say it. Do we really want to talk about the NFL?
We have to. Yeah,
our teams suck. Okay, moving on.
Is that it? That's all we're going to say?
Is there anything else to say? Both of our quarterbacks are playing awful. Both of our defenses.
No, this one felt more on coaching than it did on Justin. I mean, yeah, Justin Fields sucked in that fourth quarter. From what I didn't watch the game. I was at NHRA all weekend, so I did not watch the game. I just kept up with highlights. But apparently, Justin Fields played really, really good for 3 quarters, and then. But hey, you know what's fun? You know what's fun, Dan? It's my podcast, mine and Sam's podcast. I can talk about it as much as I flipping want to. You don't like it?
But let's be real. The Broncos defense, I think the Grayson County defense is better than the Broncos defense.
I just don't know why they're so bad. Like, how do you take that much of a step back from last year when you added some fairly decent pieces? Like, that's what blows my mind about Chicago, especially. You add DJ Moore, you don't use him. You get a full season of Chase Claypool. He's not even on the team anymore. They're sending him down the river. And how am I defending anyone? Okay. And it's one of those things where it's just like I legit don't know how you fix that. Whereas with you guys, isn't your guys' problems injuries?
Yeah, I mean, the Joe Burrow injury is legitimate. Like, there's no question about that, because I think the biggest thing, and we talked about this on my Bengals podcast a little bit earlier, is Joe Burrow's 2 best qualities are his brain and his pocket awareness and how he's able to move the pocket. I mean, you think back to the AFC Championship game back in 2021, he was able to pull a Houdini move and get away from Chris Jones, who might be the best defender in the game. But now with that calf is he doesn't have that ability anymore. And that's tough. And I think, like, but the downside to it is with the soft tissues injuries, it's not like it's going to immediately get better.
Yeah. So
okay, we do want to say this. This is a pretty good line by Daniel here. He says, "You defend the Bears better than the Broncos defend anyone."
So when it comes to the Bengals, I didn't get a chance to stick around for your podcast due to my own technical issues. But is it time to panic yet for you guys?
So that's something that we actually talked about is the panic button, because the Bengals and Bears are in very different scenarios. Because I think, if my memory's right, you predicted the Bears 8-9, 9-8, right?
Yeah.
In that vicinity. You did not expect a playoff.
I figured they'd win 8 games. Yeah.
What extent is the injury? It's soft tissue, or is it a ligament or a tendon? It's the calf. So it's the calf muscle. It's a strain. They're being very close vested on what it actually might be. But I think that it's the expectation levels is what is making me almost hit the panic button. I think that this week is going to be the decision maker, because if you lose to the Cardinals, then you got some problems. Paul, you're all good. No big deal. I know you're not a Bengals fan, so it's not a big a deal. We always appreciate you locking in. As long as you're here for this one, it works great. But still, I don't know. It's just, the Burrow health is a huge question because it's not something that's going to be fixed overnight.
Yeah. And it's not like, and it's not just the Bengals, but you talk about needing a healthy quarterback, and man, there's a few teams that fall into that category where when you lose their quarterback, they just become a completely different team. I mean, the Jets come to mind as far as that's concerned. There's a few other teams. I mean, the Arizona Cardinals are nothing, and again, it's not like Kyler Murray's that great, but the Cardinals are really nothing without Kyler Murray, and then some of those other teams as well, where they are a completely different team without their quarterback. And I think you guys are really feeling that right now with Burrow not at full health.
I know Daniel says here, best bet is to sit Burrow. At this point, it's too late, because here's the thing with soft tissue injuries is who's to say they sit him for 4 weeks and the first game he comes back, he has a setback? Who's to say they don't sit him for 8 weeks? Those are the same things. You just can't predict how those injuries will react because they can crop up at any time. There's just no way to do it. And I mean, it's the same thing with sitting him the first 4 games. Probably would have had the same record. Probably, but it's impossible to know. Hindsight's 20/20, and everything about that. But Leroy, I've had enough talking about depression in the NFL. We said we'd give it 5 minutes, and we gave it about 5 minutes.
We were more than fine on the 5-minute mark.
One of the things that I did really quickly want to just talk about, does it seem like there's more blowouts and a lot of teams scoring less points in games this year than years past? I haven't done the stats to look it up, but does it feel like that?
Yeah, there's definitely more blowouts, it feels like, at least on the surface, or games you expect it to be a little bit closer than what they're not. Another area that we were talking about is the NFL has made a big deal of changing where people get hit, right? We're trying to limit upper body injuries. Now all of a sudden you're seeing a ton of lower body injuries, and that's been a big increase as well. I've noticed both those things taking place this year. More blowouts and more ankle, knee, and lower body injuries than what I remember seeing in recent years. And you got to wonder if they've changed the way that they're tackling, and that's probably why that's changed. Yeah.
Our big topic of the week, though, this week is switching gears. It's playoff time, Leroy. MLB playoffs, and both of our teams didn't make it. Good job. High five. We did good. We did good. Yeah. Now, if we're being honest, the Cubs probably should have struggled down the stretch. Reds were always kind of playing from behind. They had that rough patch in the end of August and were trying to play from behind. So both of our teams make it. But then I think this allows for us to have completely unbiased opinions off of everything.
Yeah, and I'm not going to harp. I've already harped a whole lot on the Cubs and what their problem was. And when you don't have a good starting rotation, you end up using your bullpen way more. And I'm not making excuses. There were a lot of winnable games that the Cubs did not win at the end of the season. Forget losing to the Braves. Forget losing to the Brewers. It shouldn't have gotten to that point. You should have won against the Diamondbacks. You should have won against the Rockies. You should have won against the Pirates. All those games should have been at 2 out of 3 every time. But what happens is when you don't have a starting rotation, you use your bullpen a whole lot more. And by the time the Cubs got to those last 2 weeks, that bullpen was done. They had nothing left. And so you end up giving yourself a situation where you have leads, you have offense, and end up blowing games in the 8th, 9th inning because your guys are just completely gassed. And that what
the Reds are the same way.
Yeah, and that was the downfall for, I think, both of our teams. Although it sounds like the Brewers are going to be right behind, and then the Rays are out already.
There's no probably. There's no probably to the Brewers. They are done. The Diamondbacks did win the game. Yes, the Diamondbacks did win the game. And then the Phillies were winning against the Marlins last I checked, which probably means that the Phillies are gonna move in. So that sets us up here. And let's just go series by series and make our picks. And we're gonna go through. Twins, Astros. The Twins finally break that streak. What do you think?
I'm really interested in that series because the Astros snuck in the last few days to get a playoff spot. They didn't have anything really locked up until the last 2 days as far as making it to the playoffs. But the Twins are in one of the worst divisions in all of baseball. I mean, let's be real here.
The worst division.
Yeah, both the American League Central and National League Central were nothing to write home about this year. In fact, the Twins were really hurting a lot of the year, especially with their offense. So you have a whole lot of nothing versus a whole lot of nothing. But it's about the team that gets hot last, and who's the hotter team right now. And I think the Astros are the hotter team right now. Although the Twins will be coming up hot off of this big weight off their back of finally getting past the first round. So neither team would surprise me if they won, but I'll take the Astros.
Daniel asked the dark horse to win the World Series.
I think we'll
Twins.
get. I think
no, and I'm answering that right now with the Twins. I think the Twins beat the Astros, and here's what I'm throwing in here is the Twins are the 2021 Bengals.
Oh,
finally break the streak.
Yeah,
get to play loose, go on the run to the championship. So I think that the Twins are a team that will make it. And again, at this point, I'm going to say they're going to beat the Astros, and they're going to at least make the ALCS in this scenario.
I hope they do. You know me. For those who don't know, I lived in Minnesota for a very long time, and the Twins are always have a little soft spot in my heart. I've been to the Metrodome a ton, and it's one of those things where I do like them, but I just don't think they're going to have enough to get past the Astros. So
Lopez looked good yesterday, Paul. Yes, pitching against the Blue Jays, he looked good. I don't know. I just something tells me that this is the Twins, which guarantees that they don't have the pitching. They said the same thing. The Bengals didn't have the offensive line. You never know. Some things are crazy. I don't know. Something tells me that's going to be the case. Rangers, Orioles. Really interesting series.
I'm so excited. This might be the series to watch, guys. This is such an interesting series because you never think, first of all, the Orioles in the playoffs is just a weird thing for me to say out loud. Let's be real here. That just doesn't happen. So I'm really excited to see what the Orioles can do in the playoffs. The Rangers went all in this year. They really did. It is World Series or bust for the Texas Rangers. We knew that back in spring training, all the way back at the beginning of this year, that they were really going for broke when it came to going all in or nothing. They did end up falling apart, or not falling apart. Their pitching got a little bit hurt with injuries, but they've overcome that a whole lot. They're another team that have been playing really, really good right now. But I got to go with the plucky Orioles. I think the Orioles are going to have enough to hang on and pick up that win over the Rangers.
See, and I'm going to go the opposite. I think the Rangers will win. Not that the Rangers have more experience than the Orioles, but the Orioles are kind of the young bucks, and sometimes the young bucks falter when it comes down. So that's why I'm picking the Rangers. Plus, they look really good against the Rays.
They did
really good.
They did. The Rays really disappointed me, and I'm really disappointed because. And I know what you're all going to say. Whoa, blah, blah. I'm really disappointed in the attendance. And again, I think that's more on Major League Baseball for scheduling a 3:00 game on like a Monday and Tuesday afternoon, or Monday and Wednesday afternoon, or whatever they did. I know that's what they've done forever. I'm just not a big fan of scheduling those games, at 3:00 in the afternoon. But the attendance levels really, really kind of irritated me. Because that is a very good Tampa Bay Rays team. You think about the start of the year that those guys had, and how dominant they were for the longest time. And of course, I am a bigger Rays fan just because of my work with the Hot Rods and everything. But it really disappointed me that there weren't more fans that attended those games for being a playoff team. It's almost like they expected them to get past the first round and they were going to go later on.
It was the lowest attended playoff game since the 1919 World Series.
Oh, my goodness.
That the Cincinnati Reds did win, too. which is just add this in. Okay, so Leroy, your ALCS is Astros Orioles, and mine is Twins Rangers. we are the exact opposite. Who you got?
All right, I will go with the Orioles making it to the World Series.
How about that? Who'd have thought that? That the Orioles would be making the World Series? I just said the Twins, so I'm going to roll with that. Then I'm going to say the Twins make it, but I think this one goes 7 against the Rangers.
It's going to be hard. It's going to be if both those teams make it, it's going to be a hard-fought series with a lot going on.
And I pick the Twins because they will get to play Ford home, and Minnesota will be a rockin' to get the chance to go to the World Series. So I will pick the Twins in that realm.
Minnesotans love their baseball, man. I tell you what.
Oh, yeah. Is your computer potentially back up yet or no? No?
Not even close.
Okay. I was wondering to help us. I don't know if in Paul or Daniel, you can let us know if the echo is just in my ears when I talk or if it is.
And again, my apologies. I've had technical issues all night long with all of my technology. So
and the echo, he says he does hear the echo. Well, that we're just gonna have to deal with it. I guess if your computer does potentially fix, then we'll get back onto it. Dodgers against the Diamondbacks.
So if you remember, I said the Diamondbacks were going to go to the World Series way back at the All-Star break. So I am sticking with the Diamondbacks and saying that they upset and pick up a big win against the Dodgers.
Yeah, Christy says she only hears it when I'm talking, which makes sense because it's coming through your phone audio into the mic audio. So you're taking the Diamondbacks over the Dodgers.
Yes.
You know what? Just to be different, I'm going to take the Dodgers. Just because I also think there's a shot we could be different on this next series as well. So I'm going to take the Dodgers. I don't disagree that the Diamondbacks are better, but I think in the same realm as to why I didn't pick the Orioles is it's tough when the young pups get their first chance against, and we can really say the Dodgers are the seasoned veterans. They've been here before. They know what they're going to do. So I'm going to take the Dodgers. But in 5. Braves against we'll say Phillies. I can't imagine the Marlins. I know the Phillies were winning. I can look and see if I can't find it, but I have to imagine that Paul says here, y'all sons of guns better pick the Braves. It is right now 7-0 Phillies. So it's going to be Phillies Braves. Leroy.
Gee, does Paul want the Braves to go to the World Series? What a concept.
Who you got?
Listen, there is not a better starting lineup in baseball right now than the Braves. There is not a better there might be a better rotation, but even that rotation is pretty strong. But when you look at that offensive line, if I told you that they scored 9 runs a game, I mean, no one would disagree. I mean, it's just a super strong offense. And I think because of that, the offense is going to carry the Braves a long way. And I got to go. I'm a Braves fan. Are you kidding me? Go Braves. We got it. That's what I'm going for.
Can I be a heel?
Yeah.
For one, Daniel asked, "What am I hiding in the koozie?" The greatest drink to mankind, Dr. Pepper. It's exactly what we need. Oh, cheers! I'll drink to that. And Paul Reeves puts this up here. He says Phillies are a kryptonite. I'm gonna be a heel right now. I'm gonna take the Phillies in 5.
They're up 7-0, by the way, in the 8th.
Yeah, I said that a couple minutes, but yes. I'm gonna take the Phillies. I think it's gonna be a great series. I think that something tells me that the team that wins the wild card almost gets an advantage.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think that, especially because the Phillies have dominated the Marlins in 2 games, they're going to be riding high. They are familiar with the Braves. Now, same time, the Braves are familiar with them, but I am going to pick the Phillies in 5. It's going to be a classic NLDS series. So how about now? We have gone different in the CSs, completely different.
I just feel like you're doing it just to do it. Like, I feel like you're just like, oh, I'm going to.
Maybe a little bit with the Braves pick. Now, the rest of the ones I actually do believe in. But the Braves pick, I am semi all in on, I don't know. Now, listen, it would not shock me if the Braves win all 3 games by 15 runs and it's never close and they sweep them. But Leroy, you have Diamondbacks Braves.
Yep. And listen, I went with them since July. I'm going to stick with them. I got Diamondbacks in that World Series.
Major League Baseball hates you. Diamondbacks Orioles World Series, they hate you.
It would be awful. I mean, as far as like, well, maybe not. You get 2 teams that have not been to the World Series in forever. When was the last time the D-backs were there? When they played the Yankees?
01?
Is it the last time that they were there?
Gotta be. When's the last time the Orioles were in?
Oh, the 60s, right?
Oh. Did they never make it with Ripken?
They had that 83.
Yes.
83. Wow. So I was 1 year old.
Back, they had to get the dinosaurs off the field first, right?
Yes. They did win the division in 2014 and then 1997. But yeah, 1983 was the last time that they won the pennant, and 83 was the last time they won the World Series. So yeah, it's been a minute for the Orioles.
Oh, that's good to know. And the Dinos were the ball boys. That makes more sense.
And then
the Diamondbacks
last time the Diamondbacks won the World Series was 2001. By the way, the odds for the World Series appearances right now, according to Fangraphs, Braves are at 27.5%, Astros at 16%, Dodgers at 13%, Phillies at 9%, Twins at 7%, Orioles 5.3%, and Rangers at 6.1%. So Diamondbacks are only a 4.4% favorite.
And the funny thing is that I just made a parlay bet, since we're allowed to now in the state of Kentucky, where I went Braves Twins. But now I might have to change it and go. I have Phillies Dodgers. I'm going to say the Phillies.
Okay.
Phillies take down the Dodgers. So the Phillies go back to the World Series for the 2nd straight year, and they will face the Minnesota Twins.
I would like the World Series.
Paul, I never thought that we'd be able to bet in Kentucky either for that same exact reason, but it literally just became legal less than a week ago. It was last Thursday that we were allowed to. And you better believe that I've been a degenerate over this last week because of it.
Which is hysterical, because you guys literally have one of the biggest betted races in the entire world.
No, I mean, you can bet on horse racing.
Right.
Absolutely. You've always been able to do that. Yeah.
Right. But
Leroy,
would think.
Leroy, that takes skill. Skill to bet horse racing. And also, we have one of the biggest lotteries in the name. Okay, we're not. Don't get me on my high horse. Don't get me on my high horse. So I'll take the Phillies. So I have a Phillies Twins World Series. Leroy, you have a
D-backs Orioles.
Gosh. Who you got? And how many games?
I will go with the Diamondbacks in 6.
Wow.
I'm just going all. I just figured I'd mail it all in.
And you know what? Because of that, I'll go Phillies in 6.
Okay.
Phillies in 6 to take the World Series there. Paul wants to know if you have a bag of those awful Sun Chips. to drink with your Dr. Pepper?
No, I'm on a new chip. I'm on the loaded taco, the midnight taco Doritos. That's what I'm on right now. They just came out with loaded taco Doritos. It's like midnight taco. I don't know. Christy got them for me. They're delicious. But yeah, that's my new chip of choice.
Leroy's Chip of Choice, brought to you by that Chip of Choice. It's our new sponsor. Have you been signing sponsorship deals and not sharing that revenue?
All 57 cents, my friend.
Sour cream and sweet chili. I've never heard of those. I know Miss Vicky's.
That's because Daniel's from Canada. He doesn't count.
Oh. I didn't know that. Listen, Grippo's Barbecue.
Yeah?
Have you had those?
I haven't. I always saw them when I was down there, but
because you are a spicy fan, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
I paid for it, but I am.
Listen, and Paul and Daniel, if you all are fans of spicy, Grippo's Barbecue are delicious. For one, the seasoning on these chips, the seasoning to chip ratio, there's more seasoning than there is chip. They load it up, and the seasoning is phenomenal. So make sure that you do it. Says he'll slap you with his ketchup chips, Leroy. Don't make him come down there on a work pay trip.
The Canadian England chips that I like are the fully dressed ones. They have chips that are called fully dressed. Those are amazing. We every once in a while get them down here. But yeah, the fully dressed chips are fantastic.
Is there anything in this playoffs that would surprise you if it happened? Like, is there a team winning that would be surprising?
Of the teams that are left, no. I think honestly, I think if any of my teams I pick make it, will be a little bit surprising. I really do, because let's face it, both those teams are teams that haven't played in the playoffs very much, and I think any of those teams making it would be a pretty big deal. But yeah, no, I'm excited. I tell you what, the biggest shocker will be if there's a no-hitter or a perfect game. That's always the biggest shocker for me when it comes to the postseason.
Paul, I'm interested too, from your vantage point. Is it, if the Braves don't make it to blank, is it a disappointment? Like, what is them getting knocked out to make it a disappointment for Braves fans? Because listen, I think the Braves are and I don't even know that there's an I think. I think without question, the Braves are the best team in the playoffs. So to Paul, I'm curious, what would be them getting knocked out that would make it a disappointment this year? Next series against the Phillies. So it's not quite World Series or bust then, I guess. And because he hates the Phillies, so that would that makes sense. That's funny. So those are that's our MLB playoff preview. Lots to roll into. Do you have any other thoughts you wanted to drop on the playoffs?
No, just that as far as managers go, Buck Showalter was let go by the Mets. Gabe Kapler was let go by the Giants.
Was the Gabe Kapler one a little surprising?
A little bit. A little bit.
To me, I was surprised.
They haven't played horribly. And honestly, I think the Padres were the most surprising, most disappointing team this year, as far as teams that really should have made it that didn't.
Yankees?
San Diego Padres are right there as far as most disappointing teams this year. Mets
are
probably right
there. Are you
there
surprised
too,
Aaron Boone is coming back?
Yes. Yeah, I am, just simply because that's another team that's severely underperformed from what I feel. And they're going to say injuries. They're going to say injuries were the big bug that bit them this year. But really, that team severely underperformed as well from what I thought that they should have done, what I thought they should have performed as. So I'm really interested to see what some of these teams do moving forward. Simply because there's a lot of question marks for a lot of these teams that are right there. Do you go? Do you push? This isn't supposed to be a super strong free agent class. So I'm interested to see what some of these teams that are right on the cusp, what these teams do.
Yeah, I'll be looking forward to here in about a month. We'll probably do like a free agent preview of off season for the MLB because there's a lot of really interesting teams with a lot that they can do, but there's a lot that can change in the next month as well as to what teams will succeed, what teams will not, and so on. How about we cue the music? It is time for Leroy's logos. As where I have logos that we will drop you, and those logos, I might have to drop and not do the music today, Leroy, because I think it's going to bring up too much of an echo, and that hurts me deeply.
I'm really sorry, man. I got here super early to try to get this computer up and running, and nothing.
Okay, that doesn't mean you're getting away with it, though. We're still keeping on with good old Leroy's logos. So, Leroy, I have some Leroy's logos stats. I took some time in the last week and went through and figured out some stats for you. So first off, I have your updated total. 39.9% is your percentage. So you're almost to 400. You're almost to Ted Williams land.
All right. That's not too shabby.
You've had 12 straight with at least 1 point. So you've not had a zero in a long time.
That's a good hitting streak.
You're looking for 2+ in 3 straight for the second time in the history. And I also found it interesting. Now, when I put these in and do the doors, what I literally do is I automatically just drag them in, and StreamYard usually populates the 3 that are like in what order. I don't pick the order. Never have, never will. So it automatically does it. So these stats mean absolutely nothing. You are 1 for your last 7 picking door number 3.
Okay.
And you were 1 for 13 picking door number 1 to start. Which is interesting. The one you got right was the week Caleb picked, and it was he did you really easy, if you remember correctly. But since that point, you're 6 of 10 in door number 1. Does that mean anything? Probably not.
What about 2?
2, you there's been no real reason. Paul says he's setting you up, Leroy. That means he's made it super hard.
I know it, Paul. I'm not falling for the ridiculousness.
Leroy, would you like door number 1, 2, or 3 first?
No, you're not. We're not. I see, now it's all up in my head, man. So, 2. We're going 2.
Like I said, and hand on Joey Votto and Joe Burrow, I do not mess with the order. I literally randomly put it in, and it does not mean anything. So you're taking number 2. The only time I did was when I did the theme that was SAM. That was the only time I ever have. So there you go. That's door number 2. Daniel said you were supposed to stay away from door number 2.
Well, gosh dang it. This is all your fault, Dan.
This is really awkward without the music. I really don't like it without the music.
I can't. It's all right. I'm going to hope that Boise State has a new updated logo, because that's the colors for the Mustangs, and I'm going with Boise State.
Is that your final answer?
Yes. There shouldn't be more than 2 teams allowed to have those colors in that logo. I'm just saying.
Paul says Boise State as well.
Yeah, thank you, Paul.
And that is UT Arlington, Texas Arlington.
I'm writing a strongly worded letter.
Leroy, he says, if you had your comments were working, you'd have been able to see to tell him to stay away from door number 2. Well, he'd had to do door number 2 at some point. Would you like 1 or 3?
3.
3. Again, you're 1 for your last 7 in door number 3.
Is that Texas Tech or Temple?
It's not my job to tell you. It's your job to tell me.
Jerk. All right. I'm going to go with, I'm going to go with Temple.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Now, we'll do this and say, Paul Reeves, he says Texas Tech. Daniel says the Tennessee Titans.
Oh, stop it.
So are you sticking with your gut and saying Temple, or are you going to trust Paul Reeves?
I'm sticking with my gut and saying Temple.
I gave you the chance to change it, so you can't be upset when I tell you that you are correct.
Yes!
Correct. It is Temple. Temple. And your final one for the week, door number 1.
Oh. What is that?
Door number 1. I don't know. What is it?
It's the Panthers.
Yeah, you're right. It is the Panthers.
Oh, my goodness. You stepped it up this week, my friend. I really wish I could get my drivers to work this week. Oh, my goodness. All right. It's wrong, but I'm going to go with...
Swear, if you pull this out.
There's something in the back of my head that's saying East Carolina. So that's who I'm going with.
That is Milwaukee. University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee is the answer to that one. You are now 1 of 3. Leroy, what is the theme? The Milwaukee Panthers, the UT Arlington, I'm pretty sure they're the Broncos, and the Temple Owls. What is the theme?
Right? Oh, my goodness.
Who sees that and thinks Milwaukee?
Well, they didn't have a beer can, Dan.
Leroy, what is the theme? Milwaukee Panthers, the UT Arlington Broncos, and the Temple Owls. Got one or no?
No, with those other two, I could say that it was all like branches of the actual university, but Temple doesn't fit that description, so I don't got anything for.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, like
that would have been a good theme for the future. Well, shoot, I'm surprised. They all suck. That's maybe true. But that's not. So, do you have a final answer?
No. What was it?
UT Arlington, Milwaukee, and where is Temple?
Are all those teams that are still in the playoffs in baseball?
Got it.
Yeah. Where's is Temple in Philadelphia? Yeah.
Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Those are all playoff teams.
I'm going to get criticism for this, but that's Bill Cosby's. That's where Bill Cosby went to school, was Temple.
I know.
I'm just saying.
This one was my gift to you and hoping it would lead you to the theme answer of Milwaukee. I was hoping it would lead you down the proper path. So all 3 of these schools are in cities that are still involved in I guess Milwaukee technically is eliminated, but still, these are all teams that were in the MLB playoffs. Paul says that was a gift. Listen, I was trying to help you out there. So you got 1 out of 4 this week, which will bring your total down to something. That 40% was too high for me.
Listen, I still got a base hit. So my streak continues. So
you do. You're 13 straight right now, which means now do I have to go harder or easier next week? I don't know. We'll have to see.
Oh, Lord.
I've got one theme that I've been keeping in the back pocket for a while now.
Okay.
Maybe it'll come out next week. How about the poll?
All right. You want me to ask you?
Whatever you'd like. You get to pick. You want me to answer?
Which team will finish with the better record? UK, Missouri, or Texas A&M?
Ooh, my goodness. And I assume we're talking football.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
I'm going to take Kentucky just because, well, I'm a homer. And two, I'm not sold on Missouri. Just not, they're Missouri, when it comes to it. And Texas A&M plays in the SEC West, so regardless of it being a down year for the SEC West, they still going to have to play Alabama. They're still going to have to play LSU. They're still going to have to play Ole Miss. They're still, they've got to play some tough teams the rest of the year. So I'm going to go Kentucky, but it's not like it's going to be. It wouldn't shock me if all three of those teams have the same record.
All right. You weren't ready for that.
No, because those are three random. I mean, I know they're all SEC teams, but it was more just like, interesting.
They all have the same record, other than Texas A&M has one loss. They're 4-1. The other two teams are 5-0.
Leroy, I am a genie, and I'm giving you 3 wishes for your sports teams. They have to be given to your sports teams. There is a caveat: you can't wish for a championship. Okay. And you're only allowed to use 1 wish per team. So you've got multiple teams, but you're only allowed to, because you can't use all 3 on the Bears or all 3 on the Cubs or something. You have to use 1 per team. You get 3 wishes. What are you wishing for? And again, you can't wish for a championship.
Okay. All right. Okay. Bears offensive line. Cubs, a starting rotation that wins. Can I do that? Can I do that starting rotation that wins? That each pitcher wins 20 games.
Okay. Yeah.
No, that's
you're maybe straight, but go on.
And that's, I know you don't consider it a sport, but I'm going to go with Connor Bedard being better than Wayne Gretzky. Those are my 3 wishes.
Okay. That's why I asked you. You were allowed to answer however you want.
Paul says Northwestern having a Hall of Fame quarterback, man.
Well, see, that's what I said. I mean, you could have gone Northwestern. You could have gone Western Kentucky. You could have gone anywhere. Okay. Yeah. I'm ready.
Which head coach is in the biggest hot seat? Matt Eberflus in Chicago, Josh McDaniels with the Raiders, or Brandon Staley with the Chargers?
1 second. I gotta pause really quick here. I gotta make sure I throw this comment up on before it goes away.
Whoa! We're tied for first place in the Big Ten West, so you can kindly piss off.
You said Eberflus, Staley, or McDaniels, right?
Right.
Well, I mean, it'd be tough for Eberflus because I feel like you're the person who would have to answer the question as far as really how he would feel. I think Brandon Staley has been on the hot seat since he was hired because he of those 3 teams has the best quarterback and probably the best overall team that has underachieved every single year at the helm of the program. So that's why I think it's got to be Staley when we're talking about this, but it wouldn't shock me if all 3 of those teams have brand new head coaches next season because all 3 of them are underachieving this year. McDaniels is just he's just a weird candidate too. It just seems like I don't know. Something about that New England.
By the way, I lied. Northwestern's not, they are 1-2. They're tied for second place right now with Minnesota, Purdue, and Iowa. So yeah,
they do have their worst nightmare coming up too this weekend. We'll have to make our picks a little bit later on.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine if they lose that game? Ugh.
An FCS opponent.
No, it's interesting when you look at, like, the Bears have never fired a coach midway through the season, ever, in their entire history of since they became a team, have never fired a coach midway through the season. There's a lot of speculation that if the Bears lose on Thursday night, that Matt Eberflus will be gone. Now, who you replace him with, I don't know because they don't have a defensive coordinator right now, and Getsy's ridiculous. So I don't know if the Bears are even in a position to fire Eberflus simply because they don't have anybody else that can do it. So, but there was talk that they were going to get rid of him after this Sunday game, but because they played Thursday night, because it's a short turnaround, they didn't want to get rid of him on the short turnaround week.
Are you ready?
Yeah. Sorry.
My question is really simple to you. Leroy, what is the best sandwich?
Oh my goodness. Why would you do that to me? Oh.
You only get one sandwich for the rest of your life. What is the best?
All right. I'm going to go with the BLT. Bacon, lettuce, tomato, a little bit of Miracle Whip on there, and on white toast. There is nothing better in the world for me than a BLT, and that's what I'm going with. A little bit extra bacon on there, a couple tomatoes, lettuce. Shut up, Paul. That's my sandwich of choice.
You've got a couple of other extra seconds, so I ask you. Is a hamburger a sandwich?
Yes. Meat between two buns. That's absolutely a sandwich.
Is a hot dog?
No, a hot dog is a taco.
I will tell you this: there is not a more overrated sandwich in the world than the BLT.
I knew you were going to be that. I knew you were going to be. I could have said whatever I wanted to, and you would have been like, "Oh, that sandwich sucks."
I hate tomatoes, so I just give me a BL, and that's fine. And I'm not really a big mayonnaise fan, so. But
I knew you were going to do that crap, man.
Yeah, that's what we're here for.
I forgot you do. Yeah, you don't like tomatoes. I forgot that you don't like tomatoes.
Paul says, "Do not say a hot dog. He'll quit watching." I don't even know what the Denver is.
An omelet?
I didn't even know what the clubhouse sandwich. I don't know.
The Pepe from Jimmy John's.
I guess we don't have drivers because your computer decides it doesn't want to work today.
It's not.
So you'll be able to put those in. Do you have an Off My Chest Pulse's Club? It's a classic.
Oh, I do like that. I do have an Off My Chest. And it's not even necessarily an Off My Chest. It's more of a generic statement. And if you're friends with me on my Facebook, you would have heard me talking about this earlier this week. And that is the Taylor Swift effect. I am sticking with my guns on this one and saying
Are we really mentioning Taylor Swift in this podcast back-to-back weeks? Wow. Who'd have thought?
We are, because I'm going to stick with it because of what happened with Mr. Beast and the Charlotte Hornets. With Mr. Beast sponsoring the Charlotte Hornets and bringing in what is supposedly big revenue to that team, I think that Taylor Swift started that whole thing, but I get irritated with the whole fact that we need to show her so many times during the game. And I'm interested to see how that works moving forward and to try to explain to Swifties what a first down is. So that should be fun. The Kelseys were on a podcast last week talking about the fact that they were trying to explain to a Swiftie what a down was, and I thought that was hysterical what an actual down is. But yeah, I'm interested to see what the marketing aspect of this is moving forward and see if this has a much bigger impact on the market moving forward between having celebrities sponsor some of these teams. I'm intrigued.
Paul asks the question here. He says, "Yo, talk about the Chiefs-Jets game." Paul, if I'm being 100% upfront and honest, because that's what we are in this podcast, I didn't watch it. I was busy. Couldn't get around to it. Couldn't watch it, and didn't care enough to go back and rewatch it. Because that's what this podcast is. Honestly,
the only reason that Zach Wilson played good was because Kelsey's mom was there.
You know what? That joke gets one of these.
Oh, come on. That was good. I like that. That was good.
That joke deserved that. Yeah, Paul says the Jets got screwed and destroyed. Now, I do know that the Chiefs, I saw the play of the holding. The listen, I don't need you, Paul. Do you really want to put me on my soapbox about the Chiefs at the end of games and officials giving them calls?
Yes.
Do you really want that?
Yes. Do it. Yes.
No. My blood pressure has been down today. I've been calm. We don't need to get me fired up here and talking about how the NFL loves the Chiefs. We don't need to talk about that. Yeah, because I want my blood pressure to stay low. It's healthy for me that way. And plus, you know what's even healthy? Paul says, take a pill and let's do it. No, we don't. Listen, I don't need to. We got to do our picks anyways, because that makes me a lot happier, because the pick contest is, again, to recap, I lead overall 35-26. So Leroy has a chance to make up some ground, but again, Leroy only gets 9 points this week. I get the potential of 10. Now, why that's the case is, if you remember all the way back when we started the pick contest, week 1, Leroy had a chance to get 1 point and I had a chance to get 0. So this now balances this out to where we're even. So Leroy, you can't pick the Grayson County game because there is none. So tell me the Taylorville game of this week.
The Mattoon Green Wave, who are 1-5, head to Taylorville to take on the Taylorville Tornadoes, who are 3-3. Neither team has won in the Apollo Conference, and I checked. I did stats. The last time Taylorville won an Apollo Conference game was September 27th, 2019. That was the last time they won an Apollo Conference game. I'm helping you out here. So it's been a long time since they won the Apollo Conference.
Was that one of your first games?
No, and here's the thing. And this is why my mayor can't stand me, jokingly. Taylorville was 5-0. The guy that was working and doing the play-by-play left for a different job. When I took over, they lost their next 6 straight.
So you've never seen them win a conference game?
I've never seen them win a conference game in all my time of being here.
Is there a coincidence?
I think not.
Yes. You're going to see one on Friday. You're going to see one on Friday.
Mattoon is 1-5. Taylorville is 3-3.
I agree with Paul and said it is your fault. And maybe I agree a little bit with Daniel, too. I'm going to pick Taylorville just because there's a green wave in the area. I got nothing against them, but I want them to lose too. So therefore, in turn, I don't know any. There's a tornado in Western Kentucky, but I got nothing against them. So I'm going to pick the Tornadoes to win on Friday, which guarantees that Mattoon, or how the heck you say it, is going to win. Congratulations. Leroy, Kentucky travels to Georgia. The number 1 team in the nation. Who you got?
Georgia.
Paul agrees too. Paul agrees too. And
I'm hoping, man. It's been a while, but yeah, I gotta go with Georgia for that.
Leroy, I usually ask you off the air, but since I've locked in my pick, was that the right pick?
I don't. This week, I don't know. So Mattoon has looked horrible this year. Taylorville's looked okay. The biggest problem with this, Taylorville has trouble stopping the run game. They just have a smaller defensive line, and because they have a smaller defensive line, they have problems stopping the run game. And last year, Mattoon was a passing team. If they stick with passing this year, Taylorville should pick up a win. But they're going to need to really do what they need to do as far as being able to get in there and stop that. If they stick with the passing game, they should win. If it becomes a running game, Taylorville might have a problem.
Okay. You picked Georgia to beat Kentucky, right?
Yes, they did.
I'm tempted.
Are you?
I'm tempted.
You got nothing to lose. You're up by a whole lot.
I am up by 9, but I'm going to pick with my head and not my heart, and I'm going to say Georgia wins. But it's close. Paul says do it. And plus, this is one of these things that then I'm pleased on next week when we roll in here and Kentucky wins. Peaches versus fried chicken. I'll take the chicken. What about bourbon? Horse racing? We're not just fried chicken, Daniel. We Leroy knows. He's lived here before. We're a lot more. And listen, bourbon's Kentucky bourbon, pretty darn good, is it not?
It's pretty good, yeah.
Northwestern hosts Howard. I picked this game. Northwestern has not beaten an FCS opponent in 35 years. That streak is going to end this week, and they're going to defeat Howard. That is an accurate stat, is it not?
Is it really? It's been a long time.
I don't know that it's 35 years. I was just saying.
I don't think it's been 35. It has been a long time since they won an FCS game, though.
Paul Reeves picking Howard by 50.
Paul, you are lucky I'm not on that kick button. I swear.
Who you got, Leroy?
I have Northwestern picking up the win.
So we're both with Northwestern. Paul's a bourbon guy, too. Paul, one of these days you got to get up to Kentucky and do some of the bourbon trail. Leroy will have to come down. We'll have to do some trail into the bourbon there. Tomorrow night, Leroy, Western Kentucky travels to Louisiana Tech for a Thursday night football game. Who you got?
Say it again.
Western Kentucky at Louisiana Tech.
Oh, WKU. Sorry. Go Tops.
And I agree. I'm going to pick the Tops to win on that game. Bengals. And Paul did change his pick, too. I wanted to make sure. He's now predicting Howard by 55. He's a Buffalo Trace guy. Listen, that's some good stuff there. Bengals travel to Arizona and take on the Cardinals. It's my pick first. Gosh, I hope the Bengals win. I'm going to pick the Bengals because I'm a homer. And I wasn't a homer on the Kentucky pick. Leroy, who you got?
Gosh, the Cardinals are horrible. But Bengals have not been good. And I got to make up some ground. So I will go with... I'll go with the Cardinals.
Leroy is picking the Cardinals. Tomorrow night, the game everyone has been sitting on the edge of their seat waiting for, Leroy. The Chicago Bears take on the Washington Commanders. Who you got?
I will go with the Commanders.
Can I pick a tie again? No, I'm picking Washington as well. The Commanders win. And yeah, where is that game? It's in Washington, is it not?
It's in Washington, yeah.
Oh
no, they aren't. Hold on. They might be at home.
I honestly have no idea. If I was good at my job, I would have.
No, they're in Washington.
Written it. They're in Washington. I thought they were.
Yeah, they're.
My first pick, since I'm winning the pick contest, I get to pick my secondary games first. And I'm going to start with the biggest game of the weekend, Oklahoma and Texas. And, obviously one of the top games. Leroy, who you got? The Sooners or the Longhorns?
What's their records?
I believe both are undefeated.
I'll go with Texas.
I agree. Texas wins. Paul agrees as well. I mean, you heard me at the beginning during our college football preview. I predicted Texas to win the Big 12, and that looked to actually be a pretty smart pick now that we're looking back. Leroy, do you have a game?
The 3-1 Dallas Cowboys heading to San Francisco at 7:20 on Sunday night to take on the San Francisco 49ers. Who picks up the win in that one? I'm going to go with...
No, I pick first.
Right?
I'd pick first. I'd pick first, yeah. So, oh, man. I'm going to take the Niners.
All right. And I will take... Yeah, I'll take San Francisco as well. McCaffrey goes off. Yep.
We're not very different this week. We've only differed on one game.
Yeah.
Nebraska travels to Illinois. Leroy, who you got?
The suck versus the suck. Listen, why
Northwestern isn't playing in this game.
Why you got to pick the two teams that are worse than Northwestern is? Let me ask you that. Where's the game at? Illinois?
It is.
I'll go with Nebraska. Although I tell you what, that's another one of those where if they tied, it wouldn't surprise me.
Well, it's going to be very hard for them to tie in college football.
I know. I'm giving
considering that has, but you know what? I'll give you 30 points if they tie. You want to pick that, or are you going to stick with Nebraska?
No, I'll stick with Nebraska. Thank you, though.
I've learned throughout the years never to pick Nebraska, so I'm picking Illinois. Who's your final pick, Leroy?
Listen, I am not a big. I can't stand either one of those teams, so that don't bother me at all. I tell you what.
Your final game of the week?
Oh, who do I got? Who do I got? I got. I had it written down, and I can't find my sheet. Oh yeah, number 21 Missouri versus number 23 LSU.
Game is in Missouri.
Correct.
LSU has been the team that has bit me in the rear end every time I pick them this year. I think I'm 0 for 2 when they pick. Does that mean third time's the charm?
Absolutely not.
I'm going to be an idiot and pick LSU.
You're a brave soul. I'll go with Missouri.
Go Tigers. Well, I guess that's both of them. So you're picking Missouri?
Yep.
Okay, so we differ on a little bit. To run down the game, I'm picking Taylorville to win the game. We're both predicting Georgia to beat Kentucky, Northwestern to beat Howard, Western Kentucky to beat Louisiana Tech, Washington to beat the Bears, Texas to beat Oklahoma, and then we differ on, I'm picking the Bengals, Leroy's picking the Cardinals. Nebraska is who Leroy's going with. I'm going with the Illinois. We're both with the Niners, and Leroy's with Missouri. I'm with LSU. That is our pick contest of the week. And I forgot, Leroy, you still probably want at least your 40 seconds to talk about NASCAR, right?
Talk about racing, yeah. You're lucky I don't have 40 seconds to talk about hockey because opening night is next Tuesday. We'll talk about that next week.
Okay. Let me just pause you really quick, because all of a sudden it sounds like you are now broadcasting from the studio 3 down. Try it again. Try talking.
Okay. Let's see if I can do it this time.
Yeah, no, you sound like you're about 4 rooms down. I'm not sure if it's just me. And listen, and Daniel or Paul, if you want to comment and see if Leroy now sounds all of a sudden different, let me know, because it's very hard to hear you. But if it's just my headphones, then I am 3-1 in the Jungle League, Paul. Thanks for noticing. Playing well. And my best player is about to come back in Cooper Kupp. So I'm rolling. I guess you can just try it since they aren't complaining. We can try it again, Leroy.
Okay. Tyler Reddick, Chastain, and Kyle Busch are on the outside looking in. 4 drivers are going to be eliminated after the race that takes place in Charlotte. They're going to be at the Roval, which is the interior track for Charlotte. William Byron and Ryan Blaney are the 2 drivers that are on top right now. William Byron winning the championship would be huge. He's never won the championship before.
That's with your wife. Listen, here's the thing. It made it an hour and 9 minutes before it crapped out. So at least it made it this long. Daniel says, honestly, Paul's description here is very accurate. Sound like your head shrunk in Beetlejuice. Try it one more time.
I don't even want to. There's no point.
It's a little better. So I guess that means we should just wrap up the show, right?
Yeah, I got nothing else, man.
Well, I'm sorry about that. William Byron might win NASCAR. I heard that much. I know NASCAR released their new schedule, and people are mad because there's only one Saturday night race.
Yep.
There you
Iowa. They had Iowa, and that's going to be a night race. Otherwise than that, was talking to them, trying to get Montreal, but it didn't happen. IndyCar fans are upset because it feels like NASCAR is trying to take over all the tracks and IndyCar's already at, and Iowa's a big one that previously only had IndyCar.
Yeah, I don't know. I could kind of hear you, some of it. Good. Leroy, good night. It's been a great night. Great show. Appreciate everyone for tuning in. We'll have to see you back next week for another edition of From the Press Box. Who knows what our topics could be? Maybe it's talking about how the Bears have an interim head coach. Who knows? Have a great night, everyone. Thanks for tuning in for this edition of From the Press Box.